babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Did you watch my team last night, Callow, in their opener? How good were they?
They were good for 2 quarters. I'll give them that. Yeah, they were good for 2 quarters.
I told you yesterday, man, I've lost the thread on them this year. Y'all are just going to have to let me know how it goes. Like, because I can't buy the watch the young French kids because in 5 years they're going to be awesome. That's just not the choose your own adventure I'm into, guys. I'm just not.
I'll be honest here. They started at 7. Thursday night football didn't start till 8:15. I needed something to watch because I'm in full relax mode before this weekend. So I went ahead and turned them on, and Jordan Poole actually wasn't bad. Scored like 20 in the first quarter. I was watching the Celtics feed of things because that's how I handled it. And the Celtics announcers were like, "Oh, we're never making fun of him again." And then by the third quarter, the Celtics pulled away and everything was back to normal. So good effort for 2 quarters, guys. But F for the first performance and getting blown out by the Celtics.
Got it. Okay. We got Brittany Ratcliffe today on the show, Spirit Forward. So we're short on time, which means let's get into all of it. And let's talk about Commanders and Bears. And again, Dan Quinn will update everybody today. So by the time you listen to this, you may have more information than what you're hearing here. As of us doing this now, Dan Quinn hasn't spoken to the media yet, and nobody, and this is what I love about this staff so far, has leaked like what's going to happen with Jaden Daniels. So they don't have Ron would have told Albert Breer by now that this happened, like whatever which way it was going. This is my gut on this, and maybe I shouldn't even say this because by the time you hear this, Dan Quinn will have said something. I wouldn't say a word if I were them. I would just let the Bears guess for the rest of the week. I'm going to go to practice and I'm going to see if he's out there for the walkthrough. It is just a walkthrough, but at this point, I don't know, and it's hard for me to speculate. And I've leaned he wasn't going to play, but I have a feeling he wants to, and this is going to come down to whether the team lets him. So that's kind of where B-Rob was a couple weeks ago, where B-Rob wanted to play. They decided to hold him back for good reason. And in this case, I don't know. The problem with this whole thing is I don't know the severity of this. Like, I know it's a rib injury. I don't know what that means. Like, so there are a wide range of possibilities here other than I'm pretty confident nothing's broken, but I don't know that. So that's why it's hard for me to guess what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get we don't even know what the injury is, right? Like,
that's
they tried to follow up with Quinn on Monday, and that's about as I don't want to use the word defensive because it wasn't, but that's about as like shut downy as he's been when it's come to questions. He's just like,
I'm not telling you.
Yeah. Like that's Cliff has done that actually all season, which I love. But that was about as much as Quinn had given everyone. So we don't even really know still what it is. I'll fall in line with yesterday what you and I started the show off with he doesn't have to practice, so I think they can keep this close to the vest. I don't think they need to tell anybody. Yeah, I don't think they need to. And look, you know how this goes. Anytime you're wasting another defensive coordinator's staff's time by having to go through Mariota film from 2 years ago and have to worry about Jaden, it's always, a benefit to your side that they screw up somewhere.
I will circle back to this in a little bit, but I actually think the game plans are wildly different depending on which quarterback is in. This is a very different task this weekend for them than it was a week ago. Both of these teams played the Panthers in recent weeks. I am calling that a wash. Like I haven't seen a defense that was this decimated in a while, and both of these teams literally could do whatever they want with any quarterback against them. So I'm kind of just calling that what it is and just throwing it to the side. I've been more inclined to watch how Chicago played against the Rams a few weeks ago when they finally started to turn their offense around, and then their game in London against the Jaguars where they ended up blowing out Jacksonville. But I'm telling you, if you go back and actually watch this, the score is not really indicative of how close it was. It was a much closer game, I think, like play to play. There were a couple of big breaks that occurred for Chicago in the midst of the game, including a couple of really untimely turnovers and some calls on the backside, which I'll get to here. So let me start with the Bears offense because that's changed. In getting ready to play them, what has happened, and I don't know the story as well as they do, but what has happened is first few weeks started very slowly for them. That's an understatement, right? Okay, complete understatement. And apparently, after the game where Caleb threw the ball 50 times, which is utterly ridiculous, there was a meeting between Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, and all the offensive players. And whatever happened in this meeting is whatever happened in this meeting. And they changed. And honestly, if you go watch early how they were thinking about attacking and what they became, they're a completely different team. They're not throwing the ball downfield nearly as much. They're not throwing the ball nearly as much. They're trying to establish a run game. They're running a lot of screen plays. They're trying to get Komet early in offense. So I would describe it this way now, that Caleb's first year, unlike Jaden, looks a lot more rookie-ish. I agree that he's got, as Cliff put it yesterday, very freaky talents. He can do all the Mahomesy throwing sidearm and overhand, and he can do the spin out of control type of magic tricks where he gets out of pockets. But what he doesn't have is accuracy down the field. What he doesn't have is a lot of really good, what I would describe as timing yet, because he stays in the pocket far too long at times. I don't know whether that's a processing thing or whether that's I'm just going to hang in there and do magic tricks because I've been doing it my whole life. And he's finding out the hard way in the NFL that it doesn't really go that way that easily. So this looks more in line with what a rookie looks like at the beginning of a career, especially one that is extremely talented like him. Like, I don't want to dismiss what I see watching him. What I would say is that it's going to go one of two ways from here. He's either going to get a lot better and he's going to be great. And that's where I'm inclined to believe will happen. But right now, it's not processing fast. His throws down the field are either inaccurate, and I mean really inaccurate, or bad, which I'll get to in a moment, or he's taking too many plays that blow up drives. So some of these scores the last couple of weeks that look like they're blowing people out and they're scoring a lot of points, to me are a little more circumstantial than what would be clear domination. Like, you have to watch this to see it. That game against Jacksonville was a lot closer than it might appear by the score because of a couple circumstances. And Caleb had a couple of great throws and a couple of great plays and a couple of god-awful ones. And you're seeing like a handful of these in every game where he's holding the ball too long. He's taking these sacks. He's throwing the ball in dangerous spots. So I actually think Joe Witt and Dan Quinn are licking their chops this week. I think they've got a shot here. They talk about ball is life and all that stuff. They're going to have real opportunities. And if Jaden isn't going to play, to me, it's the key. They've got to turn this guy over. Like, they're gonna have to turn this guy over this weekend.
I think what this is all kind of translating to as well, and I don't want to sound like a Bears fan here, is that they've played some bad opponents here as of late. And I'm, going to acknowledge so has Washington.
Yes.
But what was, the difference between this fan base and that fan base kind of talking about it was that fan base was trying to dismiss everything that Jaden was doing because of a bad team and not watching, the actual film, which I say, I've been saying, you don't know ball if you're saying that. Whereas with Caleb, I'm on like in the middle. Okay, you're executing against bad defenses. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I'm not going to take that away from you, but I'm kind of with you. Like, there are some plays that he has where he's a little chaotic. And I mean it in a way of like, if there was a graph, Will Levis would be the worst of the chaotic. His chaotic is more in the middle. Like, he still has that. And once again, I don't want to say like Mahomes, but he has those types of moves that you're thinking like, oh God, if this goes through, this is going to be a touchdown, or this is going to be a big gainer or whatever. He's got the athleticism to do that. So I'm just saying his chaos is a little bit better. Chaotic neutral, 100%. We'll call it chaotic neutral with him. But guess what? That works against bad defenses. This defense is literally the middle of the pack. I think they're ranked 16th in the league. So let's see what happens against the middle of the pack defense. This is one of those games where this team and the Bears are in the same tier as each other. So let's really see how they both tee off on one another.
Yes. I would describe the Bears offensively. I would describe them as they're not on the same page yet, but they have special players on this team. And I want to reiterate, I'm inclined to believe that Caleb's going to end up getting really good, but he's not there yet. And anybody who's watching this, Like the feel that Daniels has for the offense, not that I'm trying to make this a comparison, but this is why everybody is so bullish here about Daniels, is he doesn't look like a rookie. Like all the instincts he has, the decision-making he has, like all the choices he's making on the field, cool, calm, collected, doesn't look out of control. Like he looks like a veteran. Caleb doesn't. He doesn't look like a veteran, but he was picked number one for a reason because he's a special talent and you can see all of that, but it's not there yet. And like we talked a lot about this, like I like the receivers Washington has. Chicago's got crazy receivers on their team and it's not happening yet for them. A lot of reasons. They're not really connecting yet. Like Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, and in fairness to Allen, has missed a couple of games, and DJ Moore have a combined about 650 receiving yards. That's 100 a game for those three receivers combined. Like, think about that for a second. Like all of them could be number ones. Two of them have been. One's a Hall of Famer. One's trending that way. And none of them have become Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill for them. None of them, because their offense isn't on the same page yet. And that's going to be a next step for them. When that happens, watch out because they have a crazy level of talent, but it's not there yet. So that's why I want to see how Joe Witt and Dan Quinn play this, because I walk into this and go, that's a terrible matchup for everybody, but it's really a terrible matchup for us. Like I said this about like when we played Zay Flowers, I went, that like stopping Derrick Henry and everything's going to be a real problem for everybody. We don't have somebody for Zay Flowers. And like, that's going to be a problem for us. We don't maybe have a good defense for a good receiving tight end. They have one of these too, but the Bears receivers aren't hurting anybody yet. That I believe will change, but hopefully won't this week because like I said, they don't look on the same page yet. Caleb looks rookie-ish. And if none of those guys have become a preferred target who's averaging near 100 yards a game, then that's on the offense at Caleb and not those receivers because they're too talented. So I'm hoping that we're catching them before they hit their stride, which is what it feels like to me because it's not happening, especially down the field for these receivers yet.
I think the problem with that is this sounds a lot like going into the Thursday night game last year, though, where they hadn't hit their stride with Fields. That offense was all wonky. And if I'm them, I'm going, well, throwing it to DJ Moore worked really well last year, and their defense got worse. So
okay, I hear you, but like in hindsight, we were an abject mess, and we didn't know that at that point in time. That's not the case here.
Sure,
we're having good vibes on top of good vibes going on around here these days.
Sure, but I like to stack up the rosters, and there's not an answer for DJ Moore again.
No,
so if it's them, they should go back to the well right away on that because he had a career day against us last year.
I would say this about them too. I don't think their O-line's a strength. I don't know that it's a massive weakness, but I don't think it's a strength. And when I watch them too, and you'll see little clips of this, and I'm not surprised by this, Caleb holds on to the ball too long, extends plays too long. There is nothing offensive linemen hate more than if you do that, but you don't connect on the plays and you're making their jobs harder and harder and harder, and you're working them harder and harder and harder, that they get frustrated. And you could actually see a little bit of it. So I want to see how that plays out for the rest of the year. And like they're in a weird spot. Caleb's a special player who does special Mahomesy things, but he's not connecting on those Mahomesy-like passes.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't start happening, those offensive linemen are going, guy, we're not going to block for 6 seconds on every play. You've got to get rid of the ball. And I think this is why part of the come to Jesus meetings that they had was probably about, we got to establish our run game because we can't do this 50 times a game and survive. So I do expect a heavy load of DeAndre Swift. A lot of plays are underneath. They have gotten really good at the screen game, really good at it. And I'm taking my chances down the field because it just isn't connecting right now, even though that I feel like is a terrible matchup for us. They're receivers down the field. But I think you've got to live with whatever the results are and make them try this stuff because they're not connecting on it. And I do want to see Caleb get frustrated. We're a turnover away from him pouting and then his offensive lineman pointing at him going, get rid of the ball, dude.
Right. I mean, this is one of the things that I actually touched on my show a little bit, was that the Bears went all in on their skill position guys this offseason and didn't go all in on offensive line. Not that they had to go all in, but this is one of those places where I was kind of like, it wasn't adding up to me that if you didn't invest in that just a little bit this offseason, it wasn't going to pay off as much as we've liked. And we've seen this, that Caleb apparently had the best skill position group ever for a rookie quarterback, and it just hasn't started clicking yet. This is also a part of that as well. You need this to click for everything else to start clicking too. This just falls in line with, once this cog gets figured out, the other one starts spinning as well. I mean, but this is also where I will credit Joe Witt and Dan Quinn. You have two veteran coaches here that are going to go, okay, let's try to take advantage of this right now, because we might not have the best pass rush in the world, but we can try to exploit this offensive line.
I believe that if this, goes well for Caleb in year one, that they're going to be scary next year. That's what I kind of feel like. They're going to be scary next year. But, we'll see. If it comes along faster for him, they could get scary by December. We'll find out. All right, other side of the ball. I'm sure Quinn and Witt love the way the Bears play. They've got the ball as life mentality. I'll give Eberflus a lot of credit here. Like, I don't actually think across the board that they're particularly strong in certain spots, but man, are they opportunistic. They're really good in the red zone. They're very good pressures, and they cause havoc, and they're getting a lot of turnovers. So I'll give them credit for that. Like, they're not a classically stout defense, but they're kind of all over the place. They wreak havoc, and this is what scares me about Mariota versus Daniels this weekend, is that, is Mariota against a legitimate defense yet? And this is going to be a different one. If I'm them, I'm stacking the box against the run. If Mariota plays, I am forcing them, like the Ravens did, to throw the ball and let's see what happens with it. And I'm taking my chances with Mariota because his decision making isn't as quick as Daniels. And you even saw that against Carolina. Just Carolina was so weak and weakened by all the injuries on personnel. There was kind of nothing they could do about any of it. I thought Marcus played great against them, but I also know that the opponent matters here, and we're going to talk about this. And this is a very different opponent who's going to bring a lot. They're very good with bringing blitzers off the back end, showing one thing and doing another. And Mariota, frankly, hasn't been as quick a decision maker as Daniels has been. So I want to see how Cliff plays this. Like, if Mariota's the quarterback here, I think we're doing actually a lot of kind of type stuff, actually, to try to maintain possessions. This actually screams to me, especially if he plays, this is going to be a lower scoring game. And that's how it kind of read to me and felt to me. And then I went and looked at the over-under because I wanted to see if I was onto something. And it's like set at like 43. So even Vegas doesn't think a lot of points are being scored here. And that's my gut here too, that we're going to be in a game with a good team that can make mistakes, but can force mistakes on you. And we're going to find out what it's like to be in a game in the low 20s, maybe even lower than that. That's what I think we're having this weekend.
Well, I think no matter what, with Mariota or Daniels, I'll go back to what I've been saying all week, is it's always going to go back to the run game. They're going to have to try to establish the run for both quarterbacks to succeed in the way that they want to. All of Cliff's concepts all come off of play action and moving, and then having multiple backs, or, once a game we get a Terry, in the backfield moment. It doesn't mean he gets the ball, but they're going to try to establish the run either way. Then it's choose your own adventure, as you like to say, for either Mariota or Jaden here. I'm with you. I think that's going to be the circumstance for a lower scoring game, though, is that they're going to try to establish the run and go on a little bit more longer drives. Because you also heard Cliff say it yesterday too. He literally said out loud, and he doesn't say much, honestly, to the media. It's 9 minutes of not a lot, but he said if Jaden's in there, they are going to have to run the offense slightly different to protect him as well. Yes. So I'll take him at his word for that. Not that that's surprising, but we also have had coaches say, oh, well, if a guy plays, I'm going to use him how I want to use him.
Last thing really quickly, I think these are big deals. Kyler Gordon is kind of like their movable part. He's outstanding. He may not play. Jaquan Brisker's in concussion protocol, another very good player on the back end. He may not play. So those are big deals to me. Those two guys are two of the parts of that defense that seem to make a lot of plays on the back end. And Gordon is the guy that they're bringing up close to the line. He's their chaos agent. And like Kyle Hamilton is for Baltimore, that's the way he is for them. So if they don't play, I actually think that's a big deal too. I want to see how, if Mariota plays, I want to see how they play this. If they're more conservative than they've been, which, I don't know exactly what that means, but less things that take a while to develop. That would be the way I would put it. More straightforward decision making, because Jaden is so far ahead of the curve. They're doing all these kind of exotic plays with him. With Mariota, they kept running that offense, but I have a feeling it's going to be tailored down a little bit, because I don't think they want him making those type of extended decisions against a defense that is this opportunistic. So I want to see how they play that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's banged up at this point, so I'm not surprised that they have a couple guys. But same thing, I think you could look at that as Jaden too. Like, they could not practice all week, and I could still see them suiting up on Sunday.
This is going to be a good one. Either way, whether Daniels plays or not, this is going to be a really, really, really interesting test. The Bears are surging, but don't be fooled by those scores. They're not playing as well as those scores would suggest to you. However, they're dangerous. They're getting better, and they haven't even hit the Death Star part of those receivers haven't been unlocked yet. So, wait till that happens with them. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram and Callow show at 6:30 at Sports Capital. All right, let's go through the rest of week 8. And let me start with last night real quick. What is the point of replay assistance if you can't overturn a clear and obvious mistake? Now, it doesn't mean that Minnesota would have won last night or come back to tie, because late in the game against the Rams, Sam Darnold was literally pulled down in the end zone by his face mask. It was clear and obvious, but because you can't look at that and you can't review that, it just stood as a safety, so the game was officially over. Doesn't mean they were going to go down and tie it, but if you can, because this happened to the Commanders, say there was a player downfield that was clear and obvious on a passing play and was illegally downfield too soon and call a play back and take away a 40-yard play, why can't you say it's clear and obvious that he was pulled down by his face mask, 15-yard penalty, move on, everybody? We all agree that happened, right? It was like the NFL gaslit me that he didn't get pulled down by his face mask last night.
Why? And this is where the NFL always fails for me. Why do we need these moments to happen to very quickly change the rule? Because what's going to happen by the end of next week is they're going to make that a rule. It's so dumb and obvious that it should be one. But why do we have to let it happen? I don't understand what this league does sometimes, where they throw in a thing like replay assistance and then don't also do the obvious thing with it and put obvious plays that you can use it for. It makes no sense. As Zabe used to like to say, he's this league, man, this league. Yeah. This is one of those moments where you throw your hands up and you just go, what are you doing?
The Vikings coming back to the crowd is not a surprise. And the Rams looking up at the division and going, oh, we could still win this. Well, that's a problem. And if you actually go look at their schedule, it reads like a surge for them if they stay healthy, that they're going to get back over 500 pretty soon and probably become the front runner for that division because of all the injuries that San Francisco has in the very near future. All right, for the games on Sunday, Eagles, Bengals, two currently non-contending contenders, both of which could get it together and could make runs in the playoffs. Neither look like they're prepared to do that at this point. And one of them is going to win this weekend. And I don't know that either at this point will look good doing it. So that will be important here. I think the style points matter here. If either one of them beat the other one pretty handily, I think that's a good sign. If this is what they've both been and somebody wins 13-12, I don't even know what that even means. So I think style points matter here for whoever wins this game.
I think the Eagles got themselves hot again last week with how badly they beat the Giants. So I'm just going to say this. They're going to be feeling themselves a little bit heading into this one. And if they win this one running away, they're going to get their swagger back a little bit here. It doesn't mean I believe in them fully, but I think they're the ones that have the most to gain from getting this win. Because once again, Bengals lose to another NFC opponent. They're still in the hole, but they could still turn it around too.
The Bengals, we saw this, don't have a very good rush defense, so that doesn't bode well for this weekend. But I have a feeling they're going to do what they did with Washington. They're just going to load up on the box and say, we dare you to beat us throwing the ball. And that's a good question for Jalen Hurts these days. Can you do that? So, let's see. That'll be an interesting one. Let's see. I bet the Ravens probably preferred Deshaun to be the quarterback for the Browns. I still have a hard time seeing Jameis Winston beat them. Maybe the Browns are a little more competitive because the elephant's out of the room all of a sudden, but their season's done. And Deshaun and Jameis ain't leading enough scoring drives to win. So Baltimore's going to win, and probably handily.
No, I'm with you. They were probably mad that Deshaun's going here. Now Winston's in. Winston had a leadership moment last week too, even though he was deactivated. Ravens will win this. It's just by about how much. I will say this: Nick Chubb came back last week and looked pretty normal. So maybe they get a puncher's chance if they get the run game. But the Ravens will win this. This is going to be by how much.
Yesterday, I was talking about how many weird games there are with a lot of teams with 2 or fewer wins. So here's my red zone specials this week. The Titans ought to get killed by the Lions. I mean, just the way Tennessee's going. Cardinals, Miami, if Tua was back or something, I'd have some kind of interest in it, but I kind of don't. And then I have this weird feeling that Miami will win anyway. I don't.
He is back. He's playing this game.
He's playing?
Yeah. I know you're so ingrained in the Commanders, but he was back at practice. Tyreek tweeted, "Start me in fantasy," because his numbers have sucked since he got benched. Yeah, he's playing.
Now I don't even want to watch because I don't want to know what's going to happen. So, let me know what happens after that one. Saints have fallen off the map. They're playing the Chargers. I don't care. And Panthers, Broncos. Oh, God. That is brutal. I mean, it's less brutal than the one that's going to Germany, which is Panthers, Giants. But Sean Payton's getting the luck of the draw here. He's caught a lot of these teams at kind of just the right time to kind of bulk up that record probably better than what they really are, because they just roasted New Orleans when New Orleans didn't have Carr and they played terrible. Now they're going to get the Panthers after they're starting Bryce Young again. Oh, my God. All right, so those are the red zone specials this week. Let's see. Who is softer, the Jets or the Patriots? Let's find out this week. The Jets... This is it. I mean, if they lose this one, Rodgers might quit. I mean, honestly, he might quit if they lose this one. And the Patriots, I mean, it was kind of funny to see the first coach in the first year after Belichick, 7 weeks in, say, my team is soft. Wow.
On that front, I think I heard it was on Sportsmanlike on our airwaves, and it was Canty. And Canty was like, what he meant by that was their special teams are terrible and their run defense is terrible. When those are terrible, you get to be called soft. He was like, he could have said it in a better way, but he's right. They are soft. The 2 hardest things to do in football, they're doing badly. So actually, when I heard it from a player's perspective, I felt a little bit better about it, but I'm with you on the Jets. If they lose this one, I mean, pack it in. It's not happening.
You have no excuse.
Yeah.
You can't lose this one.
Yeah.
They can't score enough to beat you, and you know it. How in the world could you lose this one? Let's see. Falcons and the Bucks had a classic first time they played each other. This time isn't going to be like that one because the Buccaneers are missing too many of their weapons. And, you never know what Kirk you're going to get. You might get 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, Kirk, or 500 yards, touchdown, Kirk. I do like the Falcons to sweep here, though, because I just don't think the Buccaneers are actually going to keep up with their scoring. And as mentioned numerous times, the way that they play defense has kind of fallen out of favor the last year or so. Most teams are playing back. Remember, Mel got really pissed about that. That's not what the Buccaneers do. They bring people and they bring pressure, and they're getting scored on a lot this year. So give me the Falcons, pull off a sweep of that one, and be kind of trending towards winning that division.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially the Bucks on a short week on a tough loss on Monday, too. Even the Falcons here. Falcons also got taken by surprise by the Seahawks last week, too. I think the Falcons are going to be a coin flip every week. Heads this week, and they get a win.
Pack v. Dougie P. That ought to be pretty good. Let's see. Jacksonville off of their London series. The Packers serious. They're not. So give me Green Bay. I mean, I don't know how you pick Jacksonville here.
You saw your boy Saleh is on the Packers staff.
Yes.
Now, right? So, I'm just saying.
My boy Saleh. Yeah.
Your favorite coach. Salah, by the way, like, it's funny. Did he do that to slight Aaron Rodgers? Like, I'm going to go back to your old team just to, like, mess with you a little bit. Like, I'm going to your ex-girlfriend's house. Like, that's what it felt like a little bit. But either way, I'm with you. Like, I know the Jags won last week, but it was the Patriots. I don't know if I hate a team more than the Jags this year. Just the way that they said that this is the best version of their team. I'm a Trev hater at this point. Packers all the way, serious operation versus an unserious operation.
Colts Texans is sneaky interesting. The Texans have not been boat racing people, so watch out. Like, the Colts are well coached. I don't love their roster, but they're well coached. So that's sneaky interesting. And just like I wasn't surprised that the Rams beat the Vikings last night, I wouldn't be surprised here if the Colts knocked them off. That really wouldn't surprise me. Bills and Seahawks. This game stinks of Seattle. Watch out. Watch out, Seattle here. I know the Bills got Amari Cooper and they're scoring all these points, and they go through periods of time, though, where they're kind of weird and wonky. And Seattle's a little overdue for a kind of a big offensive game again. I bet this is very high scoring, and I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle knocks them off, like 34-27, 34-31, something like that.
I don't have the schedule in front of me. Where's this one at?
I think it's in Seattle.
Okay. If it's in Seattle, yeah. Give
yes,
Seattle.
It's in Seattle. Yeah. Yep. So that one stinks.
Okay.
So the Raiders in the preseason brought Kermit the Frog dolls to training camp and made fun of Pat Mahomes. They're terrible now. And I'm going to go with Mahomes remembers that. 50-0, Kansas City. 50-0. And they're going to run about 8 plays that are weird, like formations from 1946 on them to really rub it in.
The problem is Kansas City hasn't been Kansas City this year. So I'll cut it in half. 24-3. Let's just call it that. Well, let's cut it in half.
We got Jerry Torres versus Shanny's IR team. Give me, this is, San Francisco's so busted up. It's actually Dallas really ought to win this game. It's going to be very telling if they don't. It really is. So
I feel like Dallas wins this game. Jerry's done a great job of distracting everybody for 2 weeks straight. Give me the Cowboys to just win this one because the 49ers are too banged up.
All right, last thing real quick. You are the marathon man this weekend. Callow's running in the Marine Corps Marathon. I already got Archer on board. We're going to come, at least us two. We'll see if Alex and Heather show up. But we're coming to watch you run by mile 5 in Georgetown. That's where we'll be because that's close to our home. Are you ready for the Marine Corps Marathon?
Full disclosure, I've been losing my mind pretty much all week. It's called tapering when you take the last 2 weeks kind of lightly to get your body fully healed. And they called it the taper crazies. And that's been me all week. I've gone from can't wait to run this to I'm terrified to let's get it over with. So I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. And I'll say this, I ran my first marathon over 9 years ago. I'm in better shape than I was 9 years ago. So I feel like it's going to be better. I ran my first one in 4 hours and 47-ish minutes. And I think I'm going to beat that by at least like 20 minutes this time around. So yeah, appreciate the support. Appreciate you coming out, and I'll of course be looking out for you. I will not be wearing a hat on Sunday. I'll be wearing a DC headband, so that's going to be like your throw off on that one. So
you should go full Sirianni since you're losing your mind. Shave your head and start yelling at the crowd.
Got a haircut yesterday.
Oh, look at that!
So did have to go and take care of all of that. So
you just got to start yelling at the crowd. You're a Go Birds tattoo away from going nuts.
Get a Raise Hail lip tattoo. Just do that. How about doing that?
Yeah. All right. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Not that you need it, but is that what you say for a marathon? Good luck. Like, what is it? Like, are there chances you're not going to finish it? Why would I say good luck?
Dude, there are chances I couldn't finish it. You never know what happens on race day, man. There's 4+ hours of running. A lot can go wrong, man. So yes,
all right. We're all very proud of you. We're all very proud of you. So good luck this week. Good luck if that's the right terminology. And I'll see you Sunday morning. Thankfully, the Bears-Commanders game was moved so I can actually go and support you in person. I appreciate this.
Well, I appreciate that too. Thank you for all the support.
All right. Talk to you on Monday. Bram wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital.